Since early age, I liked languages and literature. I liked reading, I liked writing. My mother was an English teacher at school, but I actually struggled a lot before I learned English, and I only learned it well after visiting the United States in 1993. In May 1993, after spending 1 month in the United States and returning to Ukraine, I entered the university to study Turkish language, and my exciting journey into the worlds of Turkic, Semitic, and some other interesting languages began. Language is beauty for me. Of course, the most important thing is communicating, sharing some deep things from our heart, sharing some experiences, beautiful, wonderful things, but also the way you share, the aesthetic way, the beauty of language and linguistic forms, the beauty of poetry and sounds, and even letters captivated me. I learned several languages which use 5 different alphabets. I can categorize all my languages into broad 4 categories. Besides English, it's 4 pairs. So the first pair, or the first category of languages, contains Russian and Ukrainian, my native languages. These are Slavic languages, the category of Slavic languages. The second category is Turkic languages. It contains Azerbaijani and Turkish. These are the languages that I am fluent in, and I've lived for more than 20 years in Azerbaijan and Turkey. I am a part of this world. The third category is Semitic languages. The languages that I know from this category are 2 languages, the Standard Arabic and the Ancient Hebrew. My knowledge of these languages is highly proficient. Finally, the last category, other languages, contains 2 languages, Georgian and Persian. I have only basic knowledge of Persian. I studied its grammar, and I know lots of words, of course, from Arabic, from Turkic, and some of the Persian words as I learned the language. But still, it's difficult for me to speak or to understand a lot. Plus, Georgian language is on conversant level. So besides grammar, I can also speak when I'm in Georgia. I can talk to people a little bit. But it's still difficult to understand and to talk for me. I can also say that I studied modern Hebrew, but modern Hebrew is, again, it's a very basic knowledge. There are languages that I would like to learn and to add to these, but I'm afraid that it's too late and I don't have motivation to learn more languages right now. I'd rather perfect the ones that I know better. So I could say that Greek would be interesting for me. From Slavic languages, maybe Czech or Polish, and from Turkic languages, Crimean Tatar, for instance, is interesting because they're close to us, to Ukraine. So in Crimean Tatar, I can understand some of it, most of it, but still difficulty. Presently, I'm sitting on a bench in this beautiful, huge park that is called GÜLHANE Park in Turkish. It used to be the garden of Turkish sultans. You can actually see the Topkapı Palace behind me, the walls of the Topkapı Palace. And I just want to share a little bit about this name, GÜLHANE. So both names come from Persian origin. The word gul or gol means flower, and this word is used in Turkish for rose. The word çiçek is used for flower. And in Azerbaijan it's used for flower, gül. Well, and the word khane means house. So looking in my languages, I can say that this, even though it comes from Persian, this is a widely used Turkic name, gül. In Turkic languages, as well as in Georgian and Persian, these categories of languages belong to the genderless ones. I mean, words have no gender, no masculine, feminine, or neuter or anything. But in 2 other categories, Slavic and Semitic languages, they all have genders. Slavic have feminine, masculine, and neuter, while Semitic have only masculine and feminine. So when you look at a word like flower, gül, in our language, in Ukrainian, it is kvitka.
Квітка, 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 квітка весняна, в долині розцвіла. Зірка, 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 зірка вогняна, розпалила майбуття.
Kvitka, which is a feminine word and ends with a. Usually feminine words end with a. Kvitka. And in Russian, it's actually a masculine word, цветок. Цветок. Interesting that in Russian that word coincides with color, цвет. Цвет, цветок. So for instance, if you talk plural, like flowers, you would say цветы, and colors, you would say цвета. But when you put this word in any of the cases, цветов, цветами, цветах, then they will be the same. That's a very interesting word in Russian. In Ukrainian, the word flower doesn't coincide with the word color. Actually, in Ukrainian, we use the word колер. Колер for color. But kvitka and kviti for flowers. Interesting, so they are different. In Russian, flower is masculine. In Ukrainian, it's feminine. Usually they say дівчина як квітка, a girl as a flower. This kind of imagery. And in the Semitic languages, in the Arabic, it is zahra, also ends with a, and also is a feminine word. But in Hebrew, in ancient Hebrew, and in modern Hebrew as well, it is parach, which is masculine. So again, here we have a flower for Hebrew people is masculine, but for Arabs it is feminine. The word GLHANE in Russian and Ukrainian is almost the same, dom and dim, and both are masculine, while in Hebrew and in Arabic they are also masculine and they're also the same, actually, beit, bait. So you know the famous name of the town where Jesus Christ was born, Bethlehem, that comes from Beit Lechem, the house of bread. And in Arabic it is Beit Lahm. Lahm means meat, so it's interesting that one word that in Hebrew means bread, in Arabic means meat. So the word bait or bait in Hebrew and bait in Arabic is used today in the living Arabic and Hebrew languages. It's very ancient word, ancient Semitic word. It's a blossoming time right now, in April. You can see the trees are blossoming. Very beautiful garden. Actually, if you walk further there, you'll get to the hill from which you can see the Marmara Sea and the Bosphorus. As I said, all these languages that I learned, they are very different. They use 5 different alphabets: the Cyrillic, the Latin, the Arabic, the Hebrew, and the Georgian. They're all different alphabets. And also, of course, they have very different sounds, and in future, I think each language deserves a separate chapter where I can share what I like about each language and what is exciting for me, the language or culture. It's a whole world, a different conceptual world. Different concepts are used, different sounds are used, different music. It's like music, it's like different tones and different rhythms. So it's just beauty, and I really love those languages. Actually, that's why I learned them, and I believe God put this love into my heart. So this is God's gift that I was able to learn these languages, that I had this high motivation and desire to learn this language. It's a gift I received from above, from God, and it's a privilege. I consider it a privilege, and I thank God for it. So in the next chapters, we'll talk more about this. Let's turn the page.